Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Chainlink and providing another market outlook and analysis on this token. So if you're new to the channel and you want to show some support, please leave a like and subscribe, and I would really appreciate that. Alright, so let's dive in here. I'm on the Link USD chart on a daily, and you can see how basically we have these lower highs that are being consistently put in, right? Where we had this first initial peak at $54, we came back up to $39, and then most recently, the most recent high was around $30. So each high is getting progressively lower, and the lows are pretty much declining too. So you can see how this major low was $13.50 when Bitcoin was roughly around the $30,000 mark in the summer of 2021. And since then, we didn't put in a new all-time high like most of the other markets. And you can remember that Bitcoin, it bottomed at 30,000 and then it went back up to 69,000 for sort of this double top. And that was pretty common in the market. You know, you saw Ethereum go back up to 4,800, and a lot of altcoins kind of had the same double top structure. But with Link, we did not make a new all-time high. So the resulting consequence is that we had a lower low made. And you know, if you remember that we had this major $30,000 level being kind of tested in the summer of 2021, and that's kind of when Link was, you know, forming these lower lows, and eventually when Bitcoin was like, all right, we're good, and went back up to new all-time highs, Link bounced with the rest of the market. But since then, you can see how we've come back down. We've formed a new lower low, and we have basically this declining structure with lower highs. So it is a very defined downtrend, right? We have you know, this pretty dominant downtrend with lower highs and lower lows. And if you look at this chart, we're already back to the same price we were in August of 2020, which is pretty significant. If you recall, Bitcoin was roughly $11,000 to $12,000 in August of 2020. So there's definitely a very big difference in the price now versus back then, because Bitcoin is obviously at, you know, $38,500, which is 3x higher than it was in August 2020, but Link is still at the same price. So that could be because of a few reasons. I'm going to pull up the Link Bitcoin chart, which I think provides some insight on Chainlink, and you can kind of note how it looks a lot different than the Link USD chart. We have this major peak in August of 2020, but the Chainlink USD chart peaked in April of 2021, so definitely a lot different. But on the way up, we had this pretty consistent uptrend, right, with these higher lows and higher highs, right, where it was just pretty consistently trending up. And then we had this kind of mania peak here at 0.00166. So again, this is a Chainlink Bitcoin chart. It's showing the ratio of Chainlink to Bitcoin, and if this chart is moving up, that means Chainlink is outperforming Bitcoin, and vice versa. If it's moving down, that means Bitcoin's outperforming Chainlink. So ever since this major peak in the summer of 2020, we've just had a pretty harsh downtrend, right? So you can see how already we are down 81% against Bitcoin. So that means if you had 1 Bitcoin worth of Chainlink in the summer of 2020, then you would only have 0.2 Bitcoin today. So a very harsh drawdown. And I think this is important because it goes to show you the opportunity cost that Chainlink presents, right? If you're invested in Chainlink, that means you're not invested in Bitcoin. And obviously they have far different use cases and utilities, but I think that in general, if you want to make money investing, then you should always consider the next best option. And the next best option is obviously Bitcoin, which has been outperforming Chainlink since the past few years. And you can see how significantly it is down against Bitcoin, right? I mean, we're already back at the same price we were when Bitcoin was only $11,000 to $12,000. So if you are a long-term investor and you really like the project, I would say great. I agree. I think the project's great. I think the utility is great. I think it's got a great use case, but I think that the chart is pretty dominantly down, and you can see how we're not even holding these lows that we made in the beginning of 2021, right? We're losing these levels, and you know, there's a long way down for for it to go, right? We have moved up so much since 2017, right? We're up 16,500% to the peak, from bottom to peak, and from where we are today, we're still up 3,000%. So there is that risk that we could go down to some of these lower levels. And I would say that if you still support the project, and you want to invest in this longer term, I would look for some sort of bottoming pattern against Bitcoin, because I mean, if the USD chart is moving up, that's great, but if you could make more money investing in Bitcoin, I don't see why you wouldn't pursue that. So I know a lot of you guys are invested in this, and I think that the token is great, but the price action is not agreeing with that, and it's telling us that, you know, against Bitcoin, it's just underperforming. So if you want to consider the long-term implications of that, that means you're going to consistently lose your Bitcoin valuation, and you know, that's if the trend continues. Obviously, it could reverse, but it's been predominantly down for the last 2 years, right? Like, that's a long time. I would consider that, you know, the trend is your friend, and sticking with this downtrend is probably your best bet until otherwise. If you look at this on a weekly chart, kind of condenses this information so you can see kind of the general structure. You can see how quickly we're moving down, right? It's so consistent. It's very it's a very harsh bear market for most of the DeFi tokens, and I think that's unfortunate, because I think a lot of the DeFi tokens are pretty great. I think what they provide is incredible, but it's unfortunate in the price action, because you can see how investing in this has been like a very costly event, because if you had just invested in Bitcoin, which is far less risky, you would have outperformed. And if you invested in, say, some other altcoins or Ethereum, you would have done much, much better. So I would say that I would stick with the downtrend on this. And if you see some sort of bottoming pattern, right, then you could get excited, because obviously a bottoming pattern on a 2-year long trend would be significant. But I think I would stick with the downtrend and kind of focus on some of these lower levels, right? Like at this 0.0015 level, because how it has acted in the past as a support and resistance zone. And you know, you can see how quickly we could get down there at this current pace, right? Even if you were a little more conservative, you could say, oh, we might be there by, you know, the end of this year. So I think you want to consider the opportunity costs. I do support this token, but I think the price action is not justifying holding it. And I'm sorry to say that, guys, but obviously it could change, and obviously, you know, an end to this downtrend would cause a great catalyst for Chainlink to run. But I don't see an end to this downtrend. I don't see how you could look at this and say, oh, how is it different than say this bottom or this bottom, right? It just ultimately it's trending lower, and I would consider the fact that it's still up 3,000% from 2017 against Bitcoin. So there is definitely still a lot of profit that can be given back. And I would say that if you want to support this token and invest in this long term, I would wait for a bottoming pattern, right? Something that would look like this, where we have a double bottom maybe, and we take out some of these previous highs, right? If we take out this high, then I would say, okay, then it's pretty definitive that the downtrend has ended. But as of this moment, it has not ended, and you are better off sticking with the trend that it is down, and you should consider that it will continue to be down unless proven otherwise. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.